Good morning, Crystal Palace. It's Galina Rin here from the Upper Norwood Library Hub's live stream studio. I've made it look like a version of Play School for some reason. Lots of squares, pastel colors. I thought I just needed to brighten it up a little bit because of all the darkness I generally bring to the program. Anywho's, we are here today with more of the Cuts crew. Crew. Amazing. We've got Beth. Hello, Beth. How you doing?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Why don't you tell the folks of Crystal Palace who you are and what you do?
I am Beth. I'm a performer. I'm a writer now. I'm a theatre maker, a general theatre person. I'm a when I'm not writing, I'm a drag king. And I'm the founder of an organisation called Bechdel Theatre, which talks about gender and representation on stage.
Oh, amazing. That's a lot of bows you've got going on in your string there. A lot of
Yeah,
strings on your bow. What's going on in
lots
my
of
head?
lots of bows on my string. I I trained as an actor originally, and sort of when I graduated from drama school was like, I don't really like just having to go to auditions all the time. So I'm going to find as many opportunities to make as many things as I can and be creative and artistic, and also try and make the theatre and performing arts industries a better place. So I keep myself quite busy with all of that stuff.
Yeah, amazing. I just want to touch on the drag king thing, just because it's quite unusual. I have a few friends that do drag kings, and they blame RuPaul's Drag Race for an awful lot of misconceptions, right?
Yeah, I have never watched that show. It's often quite shocking in drag communities to be like, you have never even made it through a whole episode. But yeah, it's created some horrible misconceptions that drag can only be done by like cis men. It's a complete fallacy. Like women can do drag, non-binary people can do drag, trans people can do drag, everyone can do drag, all drag is valid. So I got into drag about 2 years ago because I'd seen some amazing drag kings and thought, my God, there it is, what I want to do with my life. So I've been doing it.
Uh, uh,
Yeah, not since the pandemic, sadly.
what's your character called? I don't know if that's the right term. I'm sorry.
He's called Dan Load.
Okay.
Dan Load. So he's like sort of inspired by a lot of YouTubers who give like men's lifestyle advice, and he's a little bit of sort of people compared him to Joe Wicks mixed with Russell Brand.
Even that's.
Neither of those were my particular inspiration, but that gives you a little bit of a picture of what he is. He's like a positive, like, you can do it sort of Mr. Motivator type personality, but with a heavy beard, a lot of eyeliner, touch of camp glamour style. Um, yeah, and he makes you feel good about feeling good. So he's like a positive
That's what you
influence
want.
on your life, whether you like it or not.
It's exactly what you want out of a drag star. To be fair, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I just like getting people off their feet and like joining in with like a song or a like affirmation or something like that. Um, that's my vibe.
Cool. So we are all here today to talk about your play, and I'm also doing some technical work for this whole project, and yours is the one that I feel is probably closest to my heart as an individual. I think. Do you want to tell people what your play is called? Yeah, what's your play called?
It's called Crocus, and it's about a friendship that goes on over 15 years. The scene that I'm showing as part of the crew showcase is their first ever meeting. And they are these two 15-year-olds who meet on a fan forum for a band that they both are really obsessed with. They come from really different backgrounds, they are from different cities, and they meet up for the first time at a gig. So they've known each other online and exchanged lots of messages. So they have this weird kind of close bond that comes from talking to someone online a lot, but have never met in real life in person. So it's like a exciting moment for both of them
Mm.
and start something big, hopefully.
And where did the inspiration for that come from?
The inspiration for that came from when I was 15. I was on a lot of fan forums, particularly for bands that I liked, and I made some really close friends in the days where not a lot of people had internet friends. Nobody was doing, there was no Tinder, there was no online dating, there was none of that kind of thing going on, and it was kind of weird to meet up with a group of people who you'd only exchanged messages with on the internet. Now that's quite like normal to meet up with someone having just sent them messages back and forth and maybe exchanged a picture or two. But back then it was like a bit of a unusual activity, I think. And but I took part in that activity of meeting lots of my friends, like being a sort of outcast teenager, angsting away on your family computer to a bunch of people who feel the same way as you is a really was, I think, a really important outlet for a lot of people in my kind of early internet generation. So it's kind of capturing that beginning of the internet and the beginning of friendship, relationship that will go on to develop over the years as we move on to MySpace and Facebook and Instagram and all those different platforms. But the connection between these two people is so strong from this beginning scene that it can grow and flourish in real life and online.
Yeah, that's cool. So the whole play goes on an evolution from early internet to now, does it?
Yeah, so the full version of the play will include like the characters interacting online as well as seeing them meeting in real life and hearing little monologues from their own perspective. We'll also see them messaging each other on each of the different platforms. We'll see like key moments in their life and how they're announced in different ways as the years go on and the kind of culture of the internet changes about how much you reveal, how much you don't reveal, who you project out into the world. Who we projected out in the world in those forums was in some ways almost more intimate than who we project, I think, out onto the world in our current social media, because nowadays social media feels very, very public, and it feels like almost like, especially for if you're like a performer or somebody who puts themselves out publicly for work, it becomes almost like a professional platform. Whereas when we were on the internet and we were 15 and we felt like we were in this safe, cozy bubble of like people who just really love the same band as us, and you had to scan a photo to get it on. So you really felt like it was almost more like a friendship group. And so potentially more was revealed in those days than now you might put on Instagram. But it depends on the person, obviously. But for me, I felt like there was a lot revealed there that was both the beginning of lots of intimate friendships, which I still have to this day. And there was also a lot of stuff on there that I think, oh my God, that was not really safe or wise to be putting on the internet.
Yeah, I think I had this. Well, I dated someone around that time that you're talking about. I dated someone for 2 years that I met off the internet, and back then it was crazy. You were thought of as being completely mental if you met someone off the internet. There was the Excite Yahoo groups was the first ones that I was in, and it was mostly the Northern Irish one. And yeah, it was fun. But yeah, I think like it was felt like what you said in those groups was going to stay there rather than the open carry of information that we have now on social media. So I think being more real was something that you did back then because it was a new forum. Well, for me anyway, it was a new platform for talking to folks, and then you thought it would kind of stay in there. Like you knew it wasn't going to get. I mean, you knew there was possibility of stuff being shared, so you didn't put up photos you didn't want other people to see and stuff like that. But it was more like it was going to be kept in amongst our tiny groups rather than shared completely over social media. That's what I thought anyway.
Yeah, there was no, like, even nowadays, even if you put something on the internet that's private, there's always an awareness that in a split second someone with an iPhone can screenshot it and announce it to the world. And nowadays all the news is broken on the internet, so it feels like almost everything you say on the internet is like news. Whereas like I've been watching The West Wing now that the American presidency is changing. It feels safe to dip into that as a form of entertainment. So I've been watching that, and it was really interesting. They had a moment where one of them said, oh, there's a news story, it's on the internet, that means it's going to break tomorrow. And the idea that the news that was on the internet forums was the news that wasn't in the newspapers yet, rather than like the story hadn't broken yet because it was only online, so only a select few people would see it, and only a select few people would go to a particular news website to learn about like these bands that we were into. You know, it felt like it was a much smaller world than the internet nowadays.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get confused nowadays between what said on the internet and something that actually has gravity behind it. So, like old publishing, like if a book was made, it had to go through such a large process of someone willing to read it, and then someone thinking it was worth putting the money in to advertise it and make it into a physical book. And nowadays you can just print basically whatever you want and put it on Amazon and it's all in there. And so that's that idea of formality of information that we don't have now with the internet, I guess.
Yeah, but at the same time, like the value, like for all its kind of negativity of like anyone can say anything on there, there's also like I definitely have seen the positive side of voices that wouldn't have otherwise been able to make it into the mainstream news or mainstream publishing, or what discover an art form that they wouldn't have otherwise discovered, can seek out their world, their people, their voice, use their voice in a way that in the kind of pre-internet, like, or at least pre-dominance of the internet, wasn't possible.
Yeah, totally. Same with the live streaming. I think this whole area that we're currently in now has just opened up people's voices even further than they were before, because like we didn't have the show, we didn't do our podcast, all that kind of stuff, and now everyone does a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast.
I've got a podcast.
I had a podcast and I stopped doing it just because I wasn't it was a string I couldn't maintain, basically put enough time in, so I let it go. But yeah, but that probably adds to your comment of how giving voices to folks who didn't have it before, and this is just adding to that big list of tech that we can work with now, I guess. What kind of inside the play itself, so we now have the context of the people meeting each other. Are there any issues or concepts dealt with inside your piece that are outside the band fans meeting each other?
Yeah, so I mean the main themes, I guess, of the piece are like friendship, and specifically friendship between two queer people who have a kind of need to find that discover that side of themselves that's at this point in their lives where they're meeting. And there's sort of almost a like will they won't they romantic tension that comes with it, like two kind of queer people meeting and becoming really intense friends. And it's like a sort of, they're not sure themselves, I think, whether they are in love with each other or want to be each other, or are just really similar to each other and therefore should be best friends forever at this point in the play. So there's that kind of theme of like the intensity of friendship between people who don't feel like they maybe fit in with other areas of their life or mainstream life. There are also kind of on a slightly, like, it's a very comic piece and it's quite light-hearted in its tone, but it does like touch on issues around young women's sexuality and how like young girls who are brought up seeing representations of sexuality through the eyes of the male gaze, and how for a lot of girls crafting a sense of yourself as a sexual being at a young age comes with choosing like, oh, do I play into this stereotype or this idea of like what female sexuality is. And like when you're feeling sexual, you're also in a vulnerable position as a girl or person with a vagina, a fab person. So you like, they're navigating that as well, because they're both at this point where they first meet, they're on the brink of being 16, which in this, or one of them has just turned 16 actually, which in this country is the age of consent. And so they feel like we're like ready to, we're adults now, we're ready to like be sexual, we're ready to have like relationships. But obviously like when the audience is watching them, they're thinking these are kids. So it's about that this scene particularly is about being on that cusp of, I want to be sexy, but I'm still really kind of a kid. But it plays with that quite humorously, and the characters, I hope, are kind of on a journey of owning their sexuality, both in terms of queerness and in terms of being a sexual being, a person that has relationships and sex.
So there's quite a lot to unpack there, really. It feels like this is a really good intro to a larger piece, and I'm quite excited to be working on it with you. This is very, very cool. And it does touch on a lot of subjects that, you know, anyone who, I guess was anybody who was 15, 16 at any point, which is everybody, will have something to go with on this. But it's particularly from a band fan and internet being. I like to call them internet beings, people who live more on the internet than they do in real life. It has a lot of many hooks for me personally within that, and the tribalism that goes with being an internet person as well as being a band fan. And then all the other elements of normal human life that get piled on top of that. So it's very cool. Cool.
It's all wrapped, it's quite a lot of it is wrapped up in self-image as well. Like, these characters have put a lot into the way they like dress and the music they listen to, that they sort of that they're all the different things that layer onto their identities. So that you know, when you're at that age where you're able to go shopping for the first time and you have like saved up your little bit of money from doing chores to buy yourself the dog collar from the goth shop, and it feels like such a like important moment in saying to the world, this is who I am. And you look back now and you're like, lol, that jewelry is so silly. But back in the days before, like, you could just order any item of clothing on the internet and you had to like count out your pennies in front of a really intimidating guy with like a enormous mohawk standing and giving you like moody eyes while you're like, I just want to buy my first piece of goth jewelry from you. It's like that. Yeah, so that kind of like all the different ways we try on different costumes of who we are when we're young and when we're growing up, and even into our kind of 20s and 30s, because the play eventually, you know, when I make the full version of the play, which I'm still in the process of fully writing, they will get to 30 and we'll see the growth go. It's not just like they're 16 and then suddenly they're grown-ups. Like, they go on a journey, and there are lots of hilarious fashion faux pas involved in that journey, as well as deep moments of discovery.
Ah, that's cool. That is so cool. You've literally just explained my childhood. We had one shop in our hometown that you bought that kind of stuff from. It was called Fresh Garbage, I think, or Rough Stuff or something like that. And
out to Rags Freak in Brighton, which is where we used to go and stand outside just looking at the band t-shirts, wishing we could buy them.
Yeah, actually, I think the one in my hometown was called Rough Stuff, and then the one in Belfast was called Fresh Garbage. And we used to go up there once a month to Belfast and buy the necklaces and rings and stuff that you could only get there. Hippie skirts were a big thing when I was a kid as well. Well, down memory lane. Anyway, I think this is a really nice play, the whole idea, and I obviously feel quite connected to it. So I'm kind of hoping that we could look at doing this with the library and stuff like that with you going forward, because it's something I would quite like to put my time into. If you'll consider us for afterwards, that would be lovely.
Awesome.
So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
They can follow me on all the social media at Beth What Can I Do. Yes, that is a reference to a Kiss song, a very problematic band that I was into as a teenager. So I saved the username at Beth What Can I Do, and bethwatson.co.uk is my website for anyone who's interested in finding more about the drag, about the other theatre I make, about gender and representation on stage, listening to my podcast, any of that stuff. It's all on my website, bethwatson.co.uk.
Amazing. You're a Crystal Palatian, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Nearly 10 years I've been in Crystal Palace. I've been in South London for nearly 14 years and Crystal Palace for nearly 10. I live just down the road from the Upper Norwood Library Hub, and I walk past almost every time I leave the house during lockdown. I look in the window. What magical things are happening beyond those doors?
Do you know what? I'm just gonna drop a little brainwave that I've literally just had. It's just like we could easily have a drag cabaret at the library because no one does it. No one does it. No one does it. No one does it. We just need someone to run it. I'm just gonna leave that. I'm just gonna drop that on you and run, basically.
Well, with the South London Drag Collective in the neighbourhood.
Yeah, there you go. We've got the venue. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay.
I'm going to plug my drag company then, since you've mentioned it.
Yeah.
You can follow the Family Jewels Drag on Instagram and Twitter and all of those, and give us some love, because all of the Family Jewels Drag Kings are based in Southeast London, except for one who's recently moved to Berlin, but I'm not sure if she'll be there forever. But yeah, we're a South London drag collective, and if you're into or curious about any of that kind of thing, please do give us a follow. Maybe you'll see us at the Library Hub.
Yeah, come on, let's just book in a date. Let's just get it done. As soon as there's an audience available, let's just go. Just go for it. Anyway, people, let's get back on the topic now that we've stopped networking ourselves. Crew, how do people watch it? There you go. That's what we're here to publicize.
So the Crew little showcase, Crew Cuts, we're calling it. Hilarious pun that someone came up with. Crew Cuts, short little snippets of each of our plays, 13 of us. They are showing on the Stanley Hall's Facebook page, on their Facebook Live. I think it will also be on places like YouTube and things like that. But the Stanley Hall, give Stanley Halls a follow, and then you will be directed to it. They have an event page for Crew Cuts. And yeah, it's been like such an amazing, I really recommend tuning in, because not only am I doing a hilarious piece about teenagers making funny jokes, but I also really rate all the other writers that are involved. They're really incredible range of work and such immense talent. Makes me feel very proud to be a South Londoner, and to see people getting together on Zoom to support each other creatively has been very inspiring. And yeah, Jennifer, the course leader, tutor person, is just fantastic. Everyone has come up with material that is wildly ranging from like absurdist, there's comedy, there's drama, there's monologues, duologues, there's a piece with 3 people in it. It's just, and the actors have worked so hard. Everyone's worked amazingly hard to put it on and to make it really entertaining to watch. So it's the 20th of November, this Friday evening, and I think it starts at 7:30.
You are correct. You got all your promo info correct. Well done. Well done. Just a little bit about the Crew program. Would you recommend folks doing it if it comes up again?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, also the other thing I would really rate about this is the application was so nice. We just had to write a little bit, 200 words on, I think it was something like why we want to write or what we want to write about, and send it off to an email. There was no long form. There was no like, oh no, it doesn't fit into the word count box. There was no like, oh, send us a copy of your samples of your work, any of that stuff. It was just like, tell us who you are. And then the group of people that they found through doing that are amazing. And the course has been beautifully well structured in terms of they give us exercises to do to both generate and develop material, to go into greater depth with our writing, to think about different styles of writing. So we've touched on not just writing for theatre, but like thinking about how we would write this story for film, for TV, if it was a novel. There's huge amount of kind of creative sparks that have flown from it, as well as giving me the push, the deadline and the accountability to just write a piece and hand it in, and to have actors read my work for the first time ever, because normally I perform my own stuff. I don't think I've ever written anything and had somebody else like interpret it before. And it's just, writers are always saying actors are magic, what they do with your text, and I as an actor have always been like, yeah, whatever, we just like do our best and try and not mess it up. But the like feeling of watching actors bring your characters to life It is magic. Those writers were right. Actors are amazing. So yeah, it's been just a transformatory experience, and has really been a huge part of getting me through the pandemic crisis. It's been a big thing to look forward to on Wednesday evenings, having our classes together. So I'm very grateful to crew, and I would really, really highly recommend anyone get involved with it if you're in the Croydon or Croydon adjacent areas. Just yeah, get onto them, find out when the next one is, and go. You won't regret it.
Amazing. I don't think you could have asked for a better advert for your program. That's a sound bite and a half given to you right there from Beth. Well, thank you very much, Beth, for joining us. Oh, we could have chatted all day about the internet and all sorts of things, but there's just no time for that. I'm afraid there's no time. I'm just going to run through our last bit of notifications for the library. It's all Santa. Basically, it's Santa and his reindeers. I was going to say flipping there. I can say flipping. I can say flipping music. There's going to be flipping reindeers. Real reindeers. They are brought in by a handler. They, if they're here for 2 days, they are swapped out. So the same reindeer will not be here the 2 days. And as far as we know, they're looked after as best any reindeers could possibly be looked after. And they're going to be here all through December. I think there are still some tickets left. You will need to go on to the website, uppernorwoodlibraryhub.org, and check it out. We also have socially distanced Santa and Santa via Zoom if you don't want to come out at all. There's plenty of tickets for those sort of things, again, on the website, so just go and check it out. Other than that, we're going to have the West End musical singers and Daniel Stockton Productions will be back with us on the 13th. I want to say Sunday is the 13th of December. Could be a Saturday. Apologies, I can't remember. 13th of December, around about the same time, which is like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, sometime around there. Again, it's on our website. I've done this no justice at all about how amazing these West End musical shows are. Again, I'll have a green screen. I do believe that there is an entire story going along with the songs this year. This Christmas, so it will be Christmas based. It'll be so much Christmas in your ears, you won't know what to do with it. On top of that, we have a night of South East London choirs. That'll be on the 21st of December. I don't know that it's exactly Christmas based, but I'm sure there's going to be some Christmas songs in there, where they have collected videos by a lot of choirs throughout South East London over lockdown. It has been a project we've been working on with the choirs for months now, and the 21st of December will be the culmination of all that hard work. I believe Eleanor, our elaborate and amazing host and choir mistress here at the Upper Norwood Library Hub, will be hosting that event. My name's currently down on it for no particular reason. What do I know about choirs? Nothing. So I'm going to talk Eleanor into hosting it because it would make way more sense. Anywho's, it's all over there to play for on our website, uppernorwoodlibraryhub.org. If you want to get involved in this show, or on the live stream channel, or whatever, you just have to email me, and it's Galina Rin, Galina.Rin. I can't get my own email right. Galina.Rin at unlt.org. We are looking for more volunteers to come on and be interviewed. If you have maybe a skill you'd like to share with the local community to keep you sane and working over lockdown, then we'll happily take anything you've got going. Yay! And remember, folks, we've got our new live stream studio here at the library. We do digital editing, we do audio editing, we do video, we do live streaming, we create animated assets for anything you've got going. Whatever you want in a digital, technologically minded mindscape, we can do it here at the library, and our rates are very fair, especially for community and charity projects who we are here to support, and all those jobs help keep the library open for everybody. Amazing. Okay, I'm going to go. Thank you very much, Beth, once again for coming over and enjoying us. That was the fun times. And you can watch Crew on Friday night at 7:30 over on Stanley Hall's page, and the link for that is in the show description. We are back on Friday with more Crew folk, and then the next 2 days we have other locals who I've completely forgotten the name of, but one of them's an author. I can tell you that for sure. All right, see you all tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Alrighty, bye-bye.